school. Instead of her to be protected, they start to touch this girl for places where they know so much about the kid.
She was only 13, but even before that, what awaited her was a nightmare that shocked an entire nation. This is the heartbreaking story of Ochanya Elizabeth Ogbanje, the girl Nigeria will never forget. Ochanya Elizabeth Ogbanje was born in Benue State, Nigeria. Her parents dreamed of a better future for her. Because there was no good school in her village, they sent her to live with her mother's sister, Felicia Ogbanje, and her husband, Andrew Ogbanje, a lecturer at Benue State Polytechnic. They believed she would be safe there. They believed she would thrive. But the home that was meant to protect her became the source of her deepest pain. Behind the closed doors of Ogbanje household, Ochanya's quiet life turned into years of fear and suffering.
2013, when I was 5 years old, I went to my mother's sister's house to school because there was no school in my village. So when I went there, when I was 8, the son started sleeping with me. Then when the sister caught him, the sister then reported him to the father. Then the father scolded at him, and that was when the father started. So September, when I went to school, I was not feeling fine, so I came back home. I went to Federal Medical Center in Makurdi here. I spent 2 months and 5 days there, so they discharged us. When I now came home, then that was when I told my mother that when I was in my uncle's house, my uncle and his son, they were sleeping with me.
Her small voice told a story too painful for any child to speak. The abuse went on for years. Medical reports from Federal Medical Center, Makurdi, confirmed she suffered vesicovaginal fistula, a condition that causes incontinence and results from severe sexual trauma. She endured all this in silence, too afraid to speak and too often dismissed when she tried. By 2018, Ochanya's health had collapsed. She spent more than 2 months at the Federal Medical Center in Makurdi, battling infection and complications from her injuries. Her mother, Grace, struggled to afford treatment. Doctors tried to save her, but her small body could no longer fight. On October 17, 2018, after months of pain, Ochanya Elizabeth Ogbanje sadly passed away, just 13 years old. Her death shattered her family, and when her story became public, it broke the hearts of the whole of Nigeria. News of her death spread quickly across Nigeria. The hashtag Justice for Ochanya filled social media timelines. Students and citizens took to the streets, from Benue to Abuja, holding candlelight vigils and peaceful marches. They demanded justice, not only for Ochanya, but for every child suffering in silence. Her name became a rallying cry, a symbol of how Nigeria's systems had failed to protect its children. Authorities charged Andrew Ogbanje and his son Victor Ogbanje with rape and culpable homicide, but the path to justice was long and painful. Hearings were delayed again and again, evidence was disputed, and years passed. Then came April 28, 2022, that's the Benue State High Court in Makurdi. Justice Augustine Itsioniman delivered its verdict. He ruled that the prosecution had not proven its case beyond reasonable doubt. 2 conflicting autopsy reports complicated matters, one saying Ochanya died of natural causes, the other linking her death to the sexual abuse. Investigators had also failed to medically test Andrew Ogbanje to match his DNA with the forensic finding. And so the judge said, "I hereby acquit and discharge the defendant of all 4 counts." Andrew Ogbanje walked freely. In a separate ruling at the Federal High Court in Makurdi, Justice Mobalaji Olajuwon found Felicia Ogbanje, the woman who was meant to protect Ochanya, guilty of negligence. The court held that she knew of the abuse, ignored warnings from her own daughter, and even threatened to send Ochanya away if she spoke up. Medical evidence showed her body had been violently injured, her hymen torn, and she had lost control of her bladder. Justice Olajuwon said, aside the physical injuries inflicted on the deceased, the sexual abuse itself would have scarred her for life, and I so hold. As for Victor Ogbanja, he was declared wanted by the police and remains at large according to official records. To many Nigerians, this outcome felt like yet another failure, a reminder that the vulnerable rarely find justice. For Grace, Ochanya's mother, the pain is endless. She has spoken of how her daughter suffered in silence and how every delay in court reopens the wound. Civil society groups and journalists continue to follow the case, keeping her memory alive and pressing for reforms in how Nigeria handles child abuse investigations. Each year, vigils are held in Benue and Abuja, not only to mourn, but to demand that no child endure what she did. Because Ochanya's story is not just tragedy, it is a mirror held up to a nation. From heartbreak came awareness. The Justice for Ochanya movement has inspired new campaigns against child sexual abuse and gender-based violence. School now hosts sensitization programs. Organizations such as Mirabel Center and See Hope use her story to teach children and parents how to recognize abuse and report it without fear. Her name has been a symbol, a promise that her suffering will not be in vain. Ochanya Elizabeth Ogbanje's story is one of pain, but also of purpose. She may be gone, but her voice lives on in every campaign, every reform, and every child who dares to speak out. Because silence protects the wrong people, but truth protects the next child. Justice for Ochanya.